This
Welcome.
conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to the Town of Ocean Ridge regular meeting, May meeting. Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Ayala?
Here.
Commissioner Hutchins?
Here.
Commissioner Cassidy?
Here.
Vice Mayor Cos?
Here.
And Mayor Few.
Here. Can we please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. See the agenda before you. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? All right, hearing none. Anyone make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. All right, presentations and proclamations. Kelly?
We have got Senator Lori Berman here to give the legislative update.
All right. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone.
On red.
On red, not blue.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
red? Okay.
You've changed
That didn't make
parties.
any sense.
Counterintuitive.
Wait a second. Red is stuff. Great to see everyone. So we finished our session, our 2024 session at the beginning of March. We had a $117 billion budget. So that's pretty robust. We also had a $117 billion budget last year. Our largest silos is healthcare, about $40 billion, and education, also about $40 billion. It was a unanimously approved budget by both the House and the Senate. Some really good projects for the environment, continue to fund a lot of money for Everglades restoration, some raises for state employees. Overall, really pleased with it, and included in the budget is a $250,000 appropriation for the town of Ocean Ridge for the Ocean Ridge Water Valve Project. So very happy to be able to bring that back.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I was just telling Commissioner Cassidy, the legislature has to give the governor the budget, and then he has 15 days. The fiscal year in the state of Florida starts July 1st, so everything has to be completed by July 1st. But as of this point in time, the legislature has not given the governor the budget. Not quite sure why. There is a rumor that there might be a special session right after Memorial Day to discuss immigration, but it's not really a big issue right now, so we're not quite sure what's going to happen with that. And the rumor was that they weren't going to give the governor the budget until after the special session. So that's what I think is holding up the whole budget. Hopefully it will be in place by July 1, but I am, I feel very good about your project. I have a lot of other projects for Palm Beach County that I'm a little concerned about, so I'm kind of on tenterhooks until we get the budget signed, but hopefully we will get it signed and the project for Ocean Ridge will be approved. I do like to talk to you a lot about preemption issues. So this year, unfortunately, was no exception. So preemption for everyone in the audience. This is our third time here, Christine, hearing my speech. Preemption is when the state says that we control this particular area and you as a city or county commission cannot pass any laws in that same space. Last year, we passed a bill having to do with business impact statements, and they said that was going to be the mother of all preemptions and we wouldn't see any more. And I have to tell you, we saw a lot this year. So that didn't work out the way that we were hoping that it would work out. One of the bills that was passed has to do with local regulation of non-conforming and unsafe structures. That bill, Senate Bill 1526, says that if there is a condemned building, you are permitted to knock it down, and it doesn't have to be rebuilt in the same historic way. That was one of the bills that was passed. We did another bill, a public works project, HB 705, which says that even if you wanted to use your, it basically preempts local bidding preferences and specific minimum wage requirements for projects that were financed with your money. So you're basically not allowed to put some requirements on it, even though you're financing it. We did do some things on building permits and time frames for that, and I'm sure your attorney will fill you in on the latest on that. And we did do a bill through the big Department of Agriculture bill, which says that municipalities can't regulate electric vehicle charging stations. And then the other really big bill that we did for preemption had to do with vacation rentals, which is the Airbnb space. This has been going on for so many years, this fight about it, and I was kind of surprised that they actually did finally put together a bill. And it basically says that you, as a city, are only permitted to require registration of the Airbnb. You are allowed to charge a registration fee, and and you can do inspections of the Airbnb. Other than that, everything else is pretty much preempted to the state.
No time frame?
For no time frame.
The rental.
I don't think so. I don't think there is a time frame. Now, if you had a law in existence before 2011, you are grandfathered in. Okay, so you're grandfathered in. Good. Okay. So that's good to know that you have that. And then there is an issue about if there's noise and if there's complaints, who you're supposed to tell that to. Right now, they're giving all the power to the Department of Business and Professional Regulations in Tallahassee, which is already overloaded and isn't as responsive as it should be. And it's something like 11 complaints before you're allowed to finally do something. So it's a little crazy. I voted against the bill. I'm a big believer in home rule, and I'm sorry to say that it did pass. Just for your information on the issue of property insurance, because that is probably the biggest issue that we hear about from our constituents, we did very little. The feeling was that we had done things in the past special sessions having to do with reinsurance and trial attorneys not being able to bring what they call one-way claims, and they felt that that was going to calm the market down. They're talking about calming the market down, not necessarily lowering rates. I just want everyone to understand that. We're not talking about your rates going lower. We're just talking about your rates not going up 30%, 40%, whatever the kind of raises you've seen in the past. And I was very disappointed. I personally had a bill to try and put together a commission of all the interested parties, bring in the roofers, the trial attorneys, the insurance companies, the reinsurance companies, and have them all sit down and give us suggestions, because we're not doing a very good job in Tallahassee. And they said to me, no, we're not even going to hear your bill because we think we're going to make a difference. Time will make a difference. We did do 2 really good programs, though, connected to insurance that everybody should know about. The first is called My Safe Florida Home, and what it does is we'll give people up to $10,000 to mitigate hurricane issues with their home. So you can buy new hurricane doors, hurricane windows, roof straps, and then the way the program is set up, you have to spend $2 for every $1, and you get a maximum of $10,000. The program has been in existence, and we funded about over $400 million of it to date. This year we put another $200 million in starting in July, but we put in some guardrails that we probably should have put in the first place, and that is that seniors and low-income people will be the first priority. So the money will open up in July, but there are 5 tranches, and there won't be much left unless you're senior or low income at this point. But
isn't there a maximum amount on the house value as well?
I don't know, do you think it is? Was it 750 or
Yep,
something?
750,000.
Yeah, it might be, you might be right about that, I didn't realize that, that's a good point. And we did the other bill we did was we're extending that program to condominiums. So, it's a pilot program and they put $30 million and the maximum that the condo could get would be $175,000. So that's opening up July 1st and I have Evelyn Duplessis here from my office and we are taking names of people who want to get information on that program and so that when it opens up on July 1st, it'll be available for everyone. The final thing I want to talk about, we do something before, happy to open it up for questions and answers. We do some things that are a little bit more enjoyable in Tallahassee. So we passed one bill that I always like to end my discussion with. We wanted to honor our state troubadour. And so A1A from Jacksonville to Key West is being renamed the Jimmy Buffett Memorial Highway.
Oh, that's great.
So happy to take any questions that you have. Yeah.
Any questions for Lori?
Could you maybe talk a little bit about mobility fees, like I mentioned to you before, just with our growing concern with the coming construction over in Boynton Beach and what we should try to do with the city of Boynton to help mitigate traffic effects?
Yeah, so mobility was a big issue and I sat on the committee and we had the cities on one side and the county on another side and I was like, I felt like King Solomon, what am I gonna do? And they did finally reach an agreement for everybody, which I think everybody's willing to work with. And one of the things you'll need to do is get interlocal agreements with whoever has the same issues. So hopefully you can work everything out. So everybody will be on the same page on mobility fees this year.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you so much, Senator.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Kelly, let me keep going.
Okay, May 5th through the 11th is the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is time-honored and vital part of local government goes through the world, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of the neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of the state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk. Now therefore, I, Jeff Pugh, Mayor of Ocean Ridge, do recognize the week of May 5th through the 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks, Kelly Avery and Katrina Bender, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. And we also have the proclamation for National Police Week, which is May 12th through the 18th of 2024, and National Peace Officers Memorial Day, which is May 15th. Whereas the United States Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 15th to May 21st as National Police Week. And whereas Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week is an observance in the United States that pays tribute to the local, state, and federal peace officers who have died or have been disabled in the line of duty. And whereas established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. And whereas the members of the Ocean Ridge Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens in Ocean Ridge, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And now therefore I, Jeff Pugh, Mayor of the Town of Ocean Ridge, call upon all citizens of Ocean Ridge to observe May 15th, 2024 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. I call upon all citizens and all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 12th through 18th, 2024 as National Police Week, in which all people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established themselves for an invaluable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Furthermore, in respect for the fallen officers, I order the flag at Town Hall to be lowered to half-staff on May 15th, and I encourage all citizens to do the same.
Lastly,
That's all I have.
no, you have one more.
My apologies. All proclamations I have. We'd also like to recognize Commissioner Carolyn Cassidy for her appointment to the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Commission as an alternate seat. Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right, thank you, Kelly. All right, so the announcements. May we read those into the record?
The meeting schedule for the next month is as follows. The regular town commission and CIP meeting will be on Monday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. A town commission workshop regarding planning and zoning objectives will be held on May 13th at 10 a.m. The planning and zoning meeting will be on Tuesday, May 21st at 9 a.m. and I've already canceled the Board of Adjustment meeting. All meetings are held in the commission chambers at the town hall. Town hall will be closed Monday, May 27th in observance of Memorial Day. And any residents who wish to sign up to receive important town notifications and news through Civic Ready should sign up on the town website or call town hall for assistance.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, now it's time for public comment. Ladies first, Kelly.
She can beat me there.
Good evening, Stella Cole, 204 Beachway. I just wanted to thank the town, especially Lynn and Kelly, for helping the Starbright throughout the 2 or 3 weeks that we kind of bombarded you guys with. We really appreciate it. I want to thank the whole council for coming to the event. I want you to know that we had over 200 people in the 3 hours. And we did make a profit, but more importantly, what happened was the people got to know each other. There was, I'm always fiddling with that word,
Camaraderie.
there you go. And that was really, really heartwarming to see. And I think all of you did experience that. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to the town. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, you got Ms. Bessler behind you.
Carol Bessler, 5906 Old Ocean. To follow up with what Stella said, I'm the newly elected president of Starbright. And on behalf of the Starbright Civic Organization, I'd like to thank the commissioners and town manager Lynn Ladner for not only attending the art show, and the reception, but for supporting the cause through your purchase of art and raffle tickets. Everyone at Town Hall contributed in some way to make the event a success. The Town Hall staff was welcoming us during the setup, the police department managing the traffic and ensuring our safety. We've received numerous texts and letters from residents praising our efforts, and I'd like to read one as I believe it speaks to everyone in this community. To all the members of Starbright, the art show was a stellar event and a complete success. Kudos to everyone who contributed their time and talents, conception, planning, advertising, presentation, and fulfillment. You brought the town artists out of anonymity, introduced us to each other and to the community. You brought members of the community together to enjoy a social event with a purpose. You raised funds which will enable projects which will benefit Ocean Ridge residents. You brought local art into people's homes and supported the artists. You set a new high standard for our already exceptional community, and we had fun. You have inspired me. And that was written by Beth Sloat on behalf of her and her husband. And I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, happy wife, happy life.
Many
I couldn't
times.
come up with anything quite as witty or that rhymes, but I just like to remind the commission, happy residents, less stress for commissioners. That being said, I'd like the commission to consider the Veterans Day Town Picnic that we did not commit to last year. We would like to put that on as a proposal from last year. And if you could kindly let us know, the Starbright community know by July, if possible, so we can get into full gear of planning. If that's something that we can all participate in, the town, the police department, and Starbright, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
I have a request, and I don't actually know who it should be addressed to, but I would request that when people, that we add another clause to the variance applications, and that being the property be open for inspection. With the gated communities, we could not get in, no number of people could get in to see the property we were inspecting the variance for. And they flip-flopped a whole lot of things. It just would be, if you can do an on-site inspection ahead of time, you can make a much better decision. And maybe the lawyer review would look like.
Chris, I already thought you had that in there,
What?
because you get asked, has anybody visited the property before the meeting starts?
But if they can't get
If they
in, they
can't.
can't get in.
Well, I mean, that should be, if they can't get in, then that should be part of the variance process.
And the variance gets pushed a month out.
Then literally, they just should not even approve the variance or even discuss the variance if they haven't been, if they didn't want to go or they wanted to go, they couldn't get in.
Right, Mr. Mayor, the whole reason we asked at the beginning is for the ex parte disclosures so that the public knows what every member of the board is thinking about when they're considering a variance. So that's part of ex parte. But we could certainly look at adding to the application something that will allow for access, especially in closed gated communities.
All right, great, thank you. Thank you, Betty, that's a good idea.
My name is Lori Kramer, and I live at 6230 North Ocean Boulevard.
Oh, it's on.
Son,
You have to speak into it.
On the corner of Hudson Avenue and A1A. 3 weeks ago, I received in the mail a public hearing notice on a development plan at 3 Hudson Avenue. I attended the planning commission meeting, assuming that the construction of a spec house on 3 Hudson was already finalized. My reason for going to the meeting was for the last 9 years, I have lived in a construction war zone, having lived directly across from the white monstrosity now called the parking lot house, as well as a demolition and new construction next to me at 6238 North Ocean Boulevard. The construction affected me because Hudson Avenue is where the majority of my outdoor living space is situated, and I had to live with diesel spewing dump trucks, cement trucks, large tractor trailers hauling cement blocks and rebar, and a myriad of F-150s. At one point, I had to move out of my house for 9 months due to noise, throwing dirt, debris from the construction. I was asking the planning commission about staging off-site the diesel spewing construction vehicles that once again will start descending on Hudson Avenue right alongside my house. I told them that when Hal was police commissioner, he had them staged off island, but that did not last long. I've asked drivers to turn off idling trucks, only to be rudely and sometimes crudely refused. So I had to call the Ocean Ridge non-emergency number when my driveway was blocked and idling trucks refused to turn off the engines. The planning commission said I should ask you, the town commission, what you could do to keep trucks from idling on our residential street by creating a staging area or areas for these trucks. I am now asking for your consideration and some relief. At the planning meeting, I learned that the 3 Hudson Avenue house design was not a done deal. The commissioners had a lot of questions to the builders as to the size and design and landscaping and how it did not fit with the majority of the neighborhood homes. The commissioners referred to the house plans as looking like an office building with office-style landscaping. This white box monster house being planned by a spec builder is already listed for $9 million. This is not a house that some family has designed as their future dream home. This house will tower over the one-story homes in the neighborhood. The most recent Coastal Star has also pointed out what is happening to small, quaint beach towns with these large office-type homes and how nearby towns are trying to address building plans that push the limits of current zoning. I know we cannot be the style police, and quoting Commissioner Pugh, we cannot legislate style. But when homes are out of context with the neighborhood, there needs to be restraint with these oversized office-style homes that are being built out of town spec builders. They care little about the residents of our town, but you, the commissioners, should give consideration to the longtime tax-paying homeowners that have put down their roots in what was once a quaint coastal town known as Ocean Ridge. I know we cannot stop progress. However, I hope we can solve the problem of staging construction vehicles off-site, and that the commissioners will use constraint in what is reasonable when it comes to the size of these spec houses. I am asking the town commissioners to take into consideration the quality of life issues such as clean air and noise factors for people living daily with construction sites. I have lived with it for 9 years and I'm tired of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, before you leave, get an answer from the chief regarding the staging, because I do believe we do that on
We don't
certain
require
projects.
it. We don't require a plan in writing.
I was asking the chief.
Okay.
So,
Not
chief,
my knowledge, that
It's the dump trucks and the cement trucks that will just wait.
Can I please comment on this?
yeah,
So we talked about this in my one-on-one last week, and while we do ask them to have a staging plan, we do not ask for anything in writing. It is not a requirement. And this is one of the many things regarding construction that I'm hoping to discuss at the workshop that was to be with planning and zoning that is now just our workshop. But it's definitely something we have to require.
thank you. Thank you.
Anything on the houses that are being built around here? Nothing, huh?
If it's within the code, then it's allowed.
All right.
We have different codes and it's within our code, then it's allowed.
Good evening, Commissioner, Lisa Rotota, 4 Hudson Avenue. Good evening, Commissioners, Chief Maguire, and town staff. I'm here tonight to address a couple of issues. I've lived here on Hudson Avenue for the past 34 years. My late husband had bought the home back in 1987. So needless to say, I'm a very long-time resident here in Ocean Ridge and have seen a lot of good and not so good changes in this town. This town is changing way too fast and not in a good way. I'm all for progress, but these new homes are just out of control. Something needs to be done. The spec house that is being currently designed to be built directly across from my home at 3 Hudson Avenue should not be allowed to go ahead as the way it is currently designed. It is totally not fitting in with the rest of the neighbourhood. It is ridiculously large at over 6,000 square feet of space under air, not to mention they have all these other things that bring it up to around 8,000 square feet total or so. The neighbours immediately to the west of this new home are an elderly couple, and they sit outside every single day on the east side of their home enjoying their life. They have been residents for a little longer than I have. If this home goes ahead, one big thing that really needs to change for their sake and homeowners after them is that the air conditioning units need to be placed at the back of the property, not on the side where they can hear it all the time. We have to live here. The designer and the builders do not. It is a big cement structure that is just not fitting to be built here on Hudson Avenue. Maybe along the dune or up in Manalapan or perhaps Gulfstream, but not here. I went to the planning and zoning meeting last month about all this, but I feel they did not address enough things to be taken care of, as we residents were not able to speak after the architect and commissioners spoke. The next problem I have is with the town staff. They're just not friendly and accommodating to us as residents. We pay their salaries, they work for us, the residents, not the other way around. Since Clara has left, it has not been a warm place of business. More often than not, nobody is sitting in the office when you approach the window, and you have to call out to find someone is even there. They've been snippy and rude, and I won't stand for it. I specifically called the office before this planning and zoning board meeting and was met with no help, just that someone would call me back. Phone etiquette is not good. I ended up calling 3 times that day to eventually speak with Lynn about the meeting. I really miss the camaraderie we used to have with all the town staff when it was very much run by people who were there for us, the residents. Then on Thursday night, we had an event here in the chambers. I needed one photocopy of something for the event. And the woman I encountered in the front office was so snippy and rude to me, saying, it's going to cost you. I was speechless. Another employee ended up taking care of me and was very pleasant. I think her name was Lindsay. I'm not 100% sure about that, so I apologize. This is what all residents should be met with. Commissioners, when doing the staff reviews, please keep these kind of things in mind. We need people persons working in the town for us residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ron Kern from this, my hat on is Brown Colony this time. I live at 5510 North Ocean. We just finished our seawall after 5 years, 2 lawsuits and $1 million. The good news is that I want to pay tribute and thanks, okay, to the building inspectors that you guys are using these days. There was at least as many as 15 or 20 different points where we needed the building inspector to be on site so that we could move to the next phase. And they were there every single time on the date they said that we're going to do. They were helpful and they really did make the project move along. The project was completed, okay, last month. It was a nightmare for us, but I can say that the town really stepped up to help us get this thing pushed over the goal line. I do appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thanks. Thank you, Ron. All right, Terry, you're up.
I'll close it out for you. Terry Brown, Harper Drive South. What I wanted to ask was, in your agenda items 16 and 17, I assume you're going to put the names of the people who are vying for those positions up, or are you going to vote by? I'm just trying to get some information on the way in which you're going to do it by ballot.
By ballot, same way we do it.
So you're not going to allow public comment at that point.
No.
So if I wanted to push for someone
Do it
to
now.
do it now, you have someone on the a list for Board of Adjustments, Holly Joa, who is smart, tough.
I think she withdrew.
Yeah.
She withdrew
She
already?
withdrew.
Yeah.
I just looked at the list.
Well, before you went on and on and on, I just want to let you know.
Well, thanks for
And she
stopping.
wishes she could be here tonight.
Anyway, I thought she'd be great.
Yeah.
You know, I know her a long time. She would have been good. And the other thing I wanted to talk about briefly is the guidance that applicants get when they come to the building department, whatever exists. And the example that I'm going to give you is that Adams House that sits up on the dune, 5727. The guy died. His estate was trying to sell the property after about 2 years. They are up in Wisconsin someplace. And he had a trustee for the estate. And they had it listed for $6.3 million for that shack on the beach there. And they couldn't sell it. So they got a contractor to upgrade the look. It wasn't any change of the structure. It's a non-conforming, it's a grandfathered structure. It's been there since 1952. There wasn't any changes to the outside or the space, even in the interior. What they wanted to do was put a new roof, new windows and doors, waterproof the outside, and restucco it and make it look beautiful. Have you driven by there and look at it and see how bad it looks?
Mm-hmm.
So the contractor came back for $655,000 for all the work that they wanted. Well, someone said, you got to follow this ordinance here, 6356, substantial improvement, because the amount of the contract exceeded 50%. But that's a perfect example of that applicant should have been guided to the Board of Adjustments. That could have been waived. We could have had the contract approved. By the time the contract got approved, the owner got another offer of $1 million less and took it. And now it's still sitting there. I don't know what the owner plans to do. But the point I'm making is that there was no conditions that were called substantial improvement. And it should have been waived, it should have gone to the Board of Adjustment, and they've been rubber stamping stuff like crazy, so it would have gone through.
We should add that to the P and Z
I mean,
discussion.
someone should have guided that
We
person
did.
to the Board of Adjustment.
The whole problem is the 50% rule, which is going to be discussed at the,
Yeah, but if you read this very carefully, it says you can get an appraisal for the value of the property,
Outside.
which was wrong. The property appraiser's structure value is what you're supposed to use, or you get an appraisal. Well, they did a comparison. They picked a house here, a house there, nowhere near that structure, and did come up with a balance that was higher than 50%. The point I'm making is we missed an opportunity.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I comment on that?
Sure.
It is not something that can go to the Board of Adjustment. That's under the Florida Building Code, the 50% substantial improvement. And therefore, it's not something that can be waived by the town.
but the definition of 50% is
No,
left to
We can't override the
municipalities.
state.
There are two different 50% regulations that apply. There's the 50% rule, and as FEMA puts it, and that's for properties that are damaged, and we get to define that. The 50% substantial improvement as it relates to what Mr. Brown is speaking about, that is clearly defined in the Florida Building Code.
That's been legally described to me totally differently, but let's do this at the P and Z meeting.
Right, and it's also in a high hazard flood zone, this house. So that's the added.
I thought you weren't supposed to respond to public comment like that in a negative manner.
Well, responding to public comment doesn't always have to be positive.
No, but I'm trying to help you out.
We're trying to help you out too. All right, any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. My name is Erin.
Please speak into the mic.
Hello. I'm not normally a public speaker or anything. I'm just a American citizen, and I'm an elector of Palm Beach County.
You need your address for the record, please.
My address, I live in Jupiter.
Your address,
Um,
whatever the address is, 123 Jupiter Farms Road. I believe.
122 Palm Circle
Okay.
Lane. Since 2020, I've become an avid vote watcher, which means gone down to the tabulation center in Riviera Beach and witnessed probably about 4 elections at this point. It's been very interesting seeing some of the canvassing board activities and being part of the duplication, watching the duplication, and also doing some of the signature verification on the envelopes and such. You have a wonderful little town. I think it's adorable. I'm looking for a new place actually to move, me and my family. Your population is today 1547, and it was in 2020 1,830. So you've lost a few residents. So I'll be happy to come. You have 1 precinct that you vote in, and that is, I believe, in the town hall here. This election, you had early voting. You had 13 of your electors vote. And as it seems, you had a municipal and you also ongoing at the same time as the presidential, which some municipalities only had the presidential. They did not have municipal races. So I want to say congratulations to the person who won. And I believe that was you. I'm not sure how I pronounce your name.
Yeah, there were 3 of us that won, actually, but thank you.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I only focused on you, I guess. So it looks like there's a couple of discrepancies that I saw within the reported results that the supervisor has on her website versus what the state reports. Not a big deal, but of course, in a small area, you can notice it easier. You're actually the first stop in what we're going to call Municipal May. We're going to be stopping at most every council, not just you guys. We're not picking on you, but I'm happy we started here. I like to start small. I have some numbers that I'd like to share eventually and email them to you. We're concerned because it seems as though the municipalities don't really have their hands on what's happening with the supervisor election and the ballots and your electors in your municipality. And being such a small area, it would be great to have more hands-on. Some municipalities do go to the canvassing board room and canvass their own ballots, so that would be an option. So I'll send you all an email, and if you have any questions, please answer me back.
Thank
My
you.
name is Erin.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Ocean Ridge leaders.
Good
My name is-
evening.
Good evening, Ocean Ridge leaders. My name is Mickey Isaacson. My address is 11260 Glen Orchard Lane. I live in Boynton Beach. Thank you for letting me speak here tonight. There are 32 Ocean Ridge leaders, according to your website. Whether elected, appointed, or selected, you work for the sovereign American. We have elections to hire employees who are servants of the people. Ocean Ridge residents should demand you to take back control and ownership of their municipality by handling your own elections. Don't hand the ballots over to Wendy Link. In 2019, your city paid Wendy Link, our Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections. She wasn't, you paid Supervisor of Elections in Palm Beach County. It wasn't Wendy Link. For $2,500 for municipal package to count the Ocean Ridge residents' votes. You only have approximately 1,500 ballots maximum based on your population off your website. You should demand paper ballots, valid ID, control your own voter rolls so only legal residents can vote in your municipality. No early voting, one-day voting, hand count at the local precinct. Report the election results from your local precincts on election day. Remove the digital voting machines. Provide the military and elderly a safe and lawful way to vote. How much of your budget comes from federal and state funds and how much from Ocean Ridge residents? What is your total budget? How much does it cost to govern 1,547 people per day? Do 1,547 people require 32 government officials to control them? That would mean each one of you governs 47 people, and that's all the other people on your boards and on your website. It seems like it's an excessive government for the sovereign American. You have the authority granted by the 1838 Florida Organic Constitution to hold your elections locally. It's Article 1, Section 27. You should read the 1838 Organic Florida Constitution because anything after that is null and void. And I'd be on the right side of history and take back your elections so that you know what's happening at the supervisor election.
Okay. Next.
Greetings. My name is Candace Rojas. I'm at 3006 Waterside. I'm across the bridge with the rest of the poor people, and I'm here to serve everybody. Papers, requests for oaths and ballots, bonds, which I know are fraudulent, and I'm going to hand them to the town clerk so you have them. And then I'm going to give my little speech that I wrote.
What is that?
They're called oaths and bonds, and I'm requesting them. They're step 1 of 4 to activate the military. The Constitution states that all of the power, not some of the power, belongs to the people. And it also states that fraud vitiates everything ab initio. I'm here to boldly intercede for those without a voice, to defend the Constitution and restore the Republic. And if you've not already heard, there is a huge paradigm shift taking place across the nation. No more generational political nepotism. No more secret societies controlling the masses. No more appointed board members via the secret society handshake. The facade of power and control from fake leaders is now over. Did you know that Palm Beach County is an illegal foreign corporation called the Palm Beach County Charter with home rule charter, and Ocean Ridge is acting under such charter? Therefore, each one of you, whether you know it or not, whether you're elected, selected, appointed, you are all invalid. Ron vitiates everything ab initio. You do not follow the Constitution, you do not follow common law, instead you are under maritime law with vague statutes that benefit your own narrative and control the residents. Town leaders are not transparent, you have no accountability to the people, you do not work for we the people. You are actually the foxes guarding the hen house, and you charge illegal fines, fees, and taxes. During the March 2020 COVID scandemic plandemic, you committed crimes against humanity, which are punishable by treason. You locked down people, you closed public spaces and closed businesses and promoted the vaccines, which are killing people. We have not forgotten about this tyranny that was committed. And we, the American sovereign, do not trust the current election process, which allows fake people to be elected. We demand fair elections, which fell upon deaf ears. We require paper ballots, valid ID, one-day voting, remove the digital voting machines, the scamdemic Dominion voting machines that have satellites that switch votes. We demand that you.
I'm sorry, ma'am, time's up.
Thank you.
Time's up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You respond to that, huh? Really?
Somebody went to an audience.
No,
I'm trying to help you out, they got that?
Why respond to something like that? Okay.
We're invalid anyway.
Well, the poor side of town, you notice it was in a Four Seasons bag that you gave the things to. Anyway, Patty?
I've been sitting on the election for years on the election rolls, and we have caught people who are not able to vote. We set their vote aside and it goes into the general headquarters and is usually refused. I think we have the fairest voting system in Ocean Beach.
Thank you, Patty. All right, let's move on. Bob?
I said you're not irrelevant.
All right, we're going to go ahead and close public comment. Let's move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
I just have one question on approval of consent agenda.
Shoot.
Item number 12. I believe, Lynn, you're going to add that elsewhere, like in your town report, what we discussed about the fact that this was already in the budget. Excuse me, it was in the plan, but never in the budget for the last X number of years. So we can leave the approval agenda alone as long as you're going to get into it.
Yeah, we'll discuss it during my time.
Very good.
And there's grant money available for that.
It doesn't matter. This is something.
I know, I'm just saying.
All right, is there any, is there like a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second, any other comment?
Oh, wait, can I, one comment? Sorry.
Absolutely.
The objectives and goals, Lynn, were you amending those?
Yes, I am. I will be adding to them based on the feedback that I've received.
Okay.
All right. Hearing anything else, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, on to the regular agenda items. Appoint new planning and zoning board members. Kelly, you take the lead on that?
Sure. As you all got the memo on those that are running for, or I put their name in the hat for the planning and zoning. They are all on the ballot here. We are picking 2 regular positions.
Okay. Out of this list.
Thank you.
Make sure you put your name on there as well.
We're picking 2 on one ballot.
2 on one ballot.
Thank you, Kelly.
We're not real people. can hear that at all.
Okay, so we've got Mark Baptiste and Ken Collier.
All right.
Congratulations.
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 Now, because Mark DeBaptiste was an alternate, we're going to have to pick another alternate. And I believe we should do that tonight. So does anybody have any objection to that?
Mr. Mayor, I just have to mention that under your rules of procedure for all board appointments, you're supposed to put it on the town's agenda, put it on the website, and allow for letters of interest and resumes to be submitted. But of course, you can suspend your rules if that's what the commission
Well, if
decides.
he's already applied for the position, and he becomes the alternate, isn't that covered under your definition?
Well, under your rules of procedure, we advertise 2 positions.
Yeah.
So now you're appointing essentially someone to a 3rd position, even though it's just an alternate, but it's at the commission's pleasure if you want to suspend your rules.
So is it our pleasure to suspend the rules?
I think we should.
Okay. Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I would ask, we also received a resignation from Ms. Sydney Ray this morning. So if you're going to suspend the rules and make appointments for the alternate position, you may want to consider suspending the rules for that position and filling it this evening as well.
This is what I was getting at.
Well, I think the regular position, I mean, everybody's put on here has been for an alternate or a regular position, correct? When they signed up?
Usually that's just.
But okay, well, here's the crux of the matter, is that the town should have already known that since one of the people is an alternate member, that we would be voting for that, if that person won, that alternate position. That's the difference between having somebody just resign today and give a resignation for a regular member. So suspend the rules for the alternate position because it was a town's mistake, but not for the regular member, and have that done by next month. I mean, that's my opinion. You guys?
Yeah, so you're saying we would fill the alternate position, but wait on the other one?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
And if the one we appoint to the alternate position could also throw his hat into the next.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay.
Does that create any kind of a quorum problem with planning and zoning? Is it this time of year that happens?
With the 2 new appointments, we should have 4 out of 5 full members and still have at least 1 alternate, so.
Okay.
So you're gonna give us 5 blank pieces of paper and we just write the name in?
No.
Oh, you already have the?
I have.
You're pretty slick.
When did you do that? Oh, you just did the, okay.
She's using the backside.
Yeah, she's on the back side of it.
Ready?
Thank you.
Okay, I've got 4 for Fadi, and 1 for Craig Herbert.
All right. So there's our alternate members. So I need a motion on the floor to accept the 2 regular members and then a motion for or all 3, can do all 3 as a motion.
I move.
Second.
All right, motion second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Congratulations, everyone.
Yeah.
All right, move on to the board adjustment.
Should I say anything about John Lipscomb at this point? the
Oh,
alternate?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so John Lipscomb's an alternate on Board of Adjustment. His term is not up until next year, but he is resigning. He's moving
As of effective,
immediately.
All right, so that'll be on the next meeting as well.
Right, right.
So I
Thank you.
have ballots as well for the four that are up there.
but should we strike Polly's name since she wants to stand aside?
I was not informed of that, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we all know you.
We all know.
Yeah, so-
If you don't know.
You're not gonna vote in like
So just don't mark
defiance.
I'm picking two on that one as well.
And then be able to figure out which one's.
The messy one.
Arthur's not here.
No, but he said he couldn't.
Okay, I have Robert Smote and Arthur Z.
All right. Congratulations,
Congratulations,
Bob,
Rob.
Arthur. All right, so we need a motion.
Make a motion to appoint incumbents Robert Sloat and Art Zev to the Board of Adjustments.
I said,
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. All right, moving on to the approval of resolution 2024. Kelly, would you like to read that in the record?
Approval of Resolution 2024-04, a resolution of the mayor and town commission of the town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, authorizing publication of town notices on a publicly accessible website as an alternative to newspaper publication, directing annual notice by newspaper publication of alternative means of receiving town notices, providing for maintenance of a registry of persons desiring receipt of town notices by first-class mail or email, directing that a link to the notice website be conspicuously posted on the town website, providing for an effective date and all other purposes.
All right. Lynn, you want to bring us up to speed on this?
Sure. As the commission knows, we spend roughly $5,000 to $10,000 a year on public notices in the newspaper. We're also beholden to specific newspaper publication dates and requirements, which also causes us to sometimes change meetings in order to accommodate the requirements. It's very costly, it's time consuming, and the number of people that actually read physical newspapers these days are beginning to dwindle. The state has now allowed for the publication of your legal notices, your public notices for bids, for elections, for budget hearings, things like that. All of your required to be done electronically, has to be done on a site that's part of the overall county website. And it does have a subscription capability, so if you want to have the opportunity to get notified of any public notice that the town puts out, you can do that. You can also subscribe to every public notice of the county, the school districts, and any other jurisdictions at the same time. What this will do is it will obviously reduce costs. There is a set monthly or set annual fee for our participation in this, based on the size of our jurisdiction, which I believe, if I remember correctly, was either $2,500 or $3,000 a year. But to put it into perspective, one round of public notices for the budget for the preliminary hearing, it is $2,300 a year. We have to do 2 of those for the budget each year. So that's just the budget that will cover the cost of this, those publications. That doesn't That will reduce our costs for things like planning and zoning requirements, for ordinance publications, elections, everything else moving forward. So it will save the town money and staff time.
Is the electronic timeframe the same as the newspaper timeframe at 30 days, 20 days, whatever?
For the timeframe for the days that it has to be published is the same. What it does in terms of saving time is no longer are we required to have the information 5 to 7 days in advance so that we can get it all drafted up and sent to the newspaper. Their requirements are usually anywhere from 2 to 4 days prior to publication.
Will there be like a user-friendly link on the website to get to public notices?
Yes.
Okay.
It has to be very conspicuously posted that is to the legal notices.
And that's how residents subscribe to the notices.
Yep, they'll be able to subscribe directly from that site.
Okay.
Let's charge a fee.
That we are not permitted to do.
Public comment.
Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. I'm going to give you a little bit of a lecture. This hurts. The local Palm Beach Post is the main local voice of the community. I know that the amount that you're saving is a little bit better, right? You're saving a little bit of money by going electronically. But when you need a voice in the community, and I'll give you an example, and it had to do with GL Homes and their idea of swapping land in the agricultural center for a less valuable piece of land in the acreage. And they got it approved on the first reading, but they did not get it approved on the second reading. And the local county commissioner, who was a member of the Republican Party, Marcy Woodard, voted against it. And the community on the western side, those people who lived out there, of course, didn't want it either. But the Palm Beach Post hammered that thing for years and saved it. In other words, it worked. There was no other vehicle in the community that voiced objections to that as strongly as they did. So I'm just giving you a picture. When you take money from the print media, you don't have them when you need them. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Any other public comment? All right, back to the commission. Any other discussion? Is there a motion on the floor?
I move to approve resolution 2024-04, effective immediately. What do you mean by immediately, Lynn?
Basically, I would be able to start using it tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll second it.
The motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to number 19, Town Commission's Performance Evaluation of the Town Manager. Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you are aware, we provided evaluation forms for the commission to fill out pursuant to Ms. Ladner's contract with the town. She is to be evaluated pursuant to the terms, and depending on the results of her performance evaluation, the town commission as a whole may vote to increase her base salary. So the evaluation forms we provided have been filled out and provided as backup to tonight's agenda. So it's at the pleasure of the town commission of how you want to proceed.
All right. Is there any comments from the commissioners?
Yes, I do. I'd like to make a proposal that to make this discussion about Lynn's evaluation most effective and most constructive, that we ask you, Mr. Mayor, to sit down with Lynn one-on-one, armed with all of the evaluations that we've all done, and then conduct that discussion with her. And then she would have the ability to have a one-on-one with each of us individually, if either Lynn or we wanted to do that, just to make it a more effective discussion rather than trying to do it in an open forum.
Any thoughts?
So if I'm understanding correctly, we would do this evaluation over the next month, then in a public meeting, decide on COLA and performance.
Yeah, well, that's a separate discussion around the COLA and performance. Yeah. That would be my proposal on the performance. On the raise, I would propose that we wait until we get the study results back so that we can have an understanding of where Lynn's pay falls. If she might be underpaid, she might be in the middle, she might be over, whatever. And then armed with that knowledge, we would then decide what her increase should be at that point.
And if it negatively affected Lynn, we could retroact.
You can't retroactively, according to my discussions with the town attorney. I don't mean to speak for, we cannot retroactively pay her, but what we could do is we could adjust, let's say it was 10 months remaining in her, cycle. We could adjust her salary to what we wanted it to be and raise it for that for the 10 months.
So I just want to query this retroactive. I think we've done that in the past.
I'm told.
Well, we could prorate it though, so whatever she would have gotten for a whole year, do it over
If we decide
the
something in October and we should have done it in July, we retroactively pay to July.
There's a Florida statute that prohibits any kind of retroactive pay or bonus pay for work that's already been completed. And that's a long-standing Florida statute. So what it allows for you to do is, if you believe that a raise is in order, to simply provide for a raise.
But what we could do is just do the calculation, give her the amount we wanted. The only thing that would do is it would technically, at the end of the year, we couldn't reduce her salary. We'd be putting her salary up a little higher than we really meant for it to be. When we calculate next year's increase, we could normalize it for our calculation purposes, and then next year we'd get this done in time so that we could give her full increase. But it would, if we felt that there shouldn't be any increase, she'd actually get a built-in increase based on that proration, if you understand what I'm saying. But I'm willing to give up that flexibility to make it a more effective process for Lynn.
So you want to delay any decision based on the grades we gave Lynn until next month? That's your suggestion?
Yeah, if the study's done by then, we could publish her evaluation.
And next month, we're gonna have, 3 of us here instead of 5 of us.
It might not be next month, it might be 2 months. I don't know when the study's gonna be done. Lynn, when is the study gonna be done?
The goal is to have it done by mid-June, but I would point out that it is highly unusual to wait until after a study to reward someone's performance for their performance over the past year. I can tell you preliminarily, just off the top of my head, I spoke to Greg Dunham in Gulfstream last week, and his base salary is $150,000. I spoke to Eric Marmer, who's the new assistant in Manalapan. As the assistant, he started at $150,000, and the Manalapan manager is making $172,000. What you're asking me to accept is a delay in the performance increase until the comp and class comes in, and then 10 months after that or 9 months after that, once everything has been done, to then potentially forego any increase in April of 2025 based on a decision that you made after the comp and class study.
I don't understand.
I don't understand that either.
We're not saying that. I don't
understand why it's
Well, yes, because you said that you would make up the difference for the remaining portion of this year, and then it would be offset by any increase that you would give next year.
No, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is that, let's say that for the sake of discussion, that a 5% increase was what we decided we wanted to do. We would make sure that we raised your pay enough so that at the end of this year, you got your 5% increase, which would mean maybe we have to increase your pay by 6.2% or something in order to get there. I was simply saying that, however, when we have the discussion about what your increase should be next year, we would look at it as though you had gotten a 5% raise, and that would be the base we would work off of. So you wouldn't be harmed in any way. We'd be making you whole. The only thing that would happen is there'd be 1 or 2 months delay in when your raise happened, but by the end of the year, you'd be fully whole. And we'd have the benefit of being informed as to what the right pay levels would be, which I think makes a lot of sense, and I think the residents would agree with that.
So Annie, you're expert on this. What if we did, I'm sure you got this figured out, Lynn, the COLA increase now? Because that would relieve some of Lynn's concern.
But all we're talking about is merit increase.
Well,
That's what
no,
this whole discussion's about.
but it's gonna have to include a cost of living. I mean, come on.
I think that just complicates things.
No, it doesn't. What is we did this with staff,
With who?
with staff.
Staff received up to a 5% increase
In COLA.
in their cost of
And then
living, their salaries
we
this
handed
year.
you money to distribute as merit. So
That was, the money that you distributed to him, you provided a 5% merit, and for all of the staff members underneath me, you gave me $15,000 to divide amongst them.
For the COLA.
No, yeah, exactly opposite. We did the COLA and then we handed you money that you at
For
your
merit.
discretion would divvy up on merit.
That's
So what
correct.
I'm suggesting is, since Lynn, it's I understand your concept, it's confusing. So to make this easier, Lynn gets a COLA, whatever the hell COLA is these days, it's somewhere.
But it was, by what you're describing, it was 5% for staff.
So we take care of the 5% now, and at the end of the evaluation, individual talks led by Jeff, going first with you, then we decide on the merit phase.
And that could be based on the comp and class study. That
Correct.
makes entire sense.
Right. Now, you would be shorted a month or two of a possible raise. But that, to me, would be the easiest way to go about this.
Well, let's remember, I mean, we are not required
Correct.
to give you a raise.
No, I
All right,
understand.
so let's start at the base.
I mean, the only
Right.
issue with the way you're proposing it is if, I don't know what the study results are gonna be. I guess Lynn's confident that it's gonna show that she's at the bottom of the range or not, certainly out of range. But I'd like to see the study. What if the study showed that she was overpaid? Then we'd say, well, gosh, we shouldn't have given any increase.
Well, we're set for the year, nothing we can do about that. However, do we know if these figures from Gulfstream of 150 and Manalapan from at 172 are current or from last year? Did they just happen?
I called them last Thursday or Friday and spoke to.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe
That
they
is
had this meeting 2 months ago.
That is
See what I'm saying?
that is their current
See, that's what we're
prior
having the
to
study on.
FY '25.
All right, so we're not getting too much in the weeds here. This is an idea so that we didn't have to go through these evaluations one by one in a public forum where some things that, you say you don't try to want to be harmful.
All right.
Okay? All these evaluations are public record, so anybody can read them if they want to. So the idea of having a one-on-one, I think, is a very good idea. But I do think that if you didn't like what Lynn's doing, the town of Ocean Ridge and her contract is very simple. You can make a motion, it takes 3 votes, and you can fire right now. So if you wanted to do that, then you would do that. I would think nobody up here wants to do that right now. So I would go ahead and do the COLA right now. So that at least, we giving her the knowledge that we do want you to be here. However, we do want to give you the evaluations to where we can say, this is where we think you could benefit. Having also said that, there are a lot of things that are on the evaluation form that the new commissioners weren't here the first year. So you can't really evaluate how she did on the budget, how she does on other items. It's a very narrow evaluation then. So it's only the evaluation of the commissioners have been here since when she started last year. And having said that, you had, when you did start, a very rocky start, and a lot of things were dumped on you, so that the fact that when you were doing the budget, it may not have been as clear as we have liked it, but it could have been just the fact that where you actually came into this town, which wasn't the smoothest ride in the town. Having said all that, it takes another year to really see how your job is going. I think your job's been going rather well, but that's part of the evaluation. So my suggestion is go ahead and give her, at least discuss the COLA, vote on a COLA raise, to your point, have the discussions in private. And then after that's all said and done, the next meeting or the meeting after that, after you have the
Results.
results of the test, then we can vote on a merit raise. It would be either an increase or a status quo. I don't know.
Can I ask Christie a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Per Lynn's contract, we're supposed to have completed an evaluation by like April 18th, right? So we were a little late starting that process. Also, I asked Kelly for a copy of her job description because that's in the handbook, which is not on the website. And that was very helpful to read what are the expectations exactly in order to perform the evaluation. So that was the other piece. And then I mentioned before, the narrative part of the evaluation only allowed for one line. So I think that's something we need to look at having changed going forward.
So can I pipe in on that? Whatever program you're using, Adobe, I tried to go beyond one line. I don't know if you tried this. It'll shoot you to the Adobe site to buy a $19 a month subscription, which you use because you're a lawyer. But perhaps in the future, we could just do it as a Word document where we all can wax on as needed.
There was a way to add more, but it got really small. So I did do that.
Like tiny, yeah.
And then it got cut off in the public.
Correct.
Thing, so.
All right, so what's the pleasure of the commission?
I can live with the compromise that you described.
Okay. Dave?
I guess it'll work. And hopefully Lynn will be patient.
Do my best to be as patient as I can.
So what are we using for COLA? What objective metric?
5%?
I think the proposal was 5% because that's what we used for staff at some point.
Yep.
All right.
I can live with that.
So we're going to have to put together a motion on this.
Yeah.
It includes the COLA and talk with.
The discussion, yeah.
And the COLA would be effective the next paycheck? How's that work?
Kelly?
It can't be retroactive, so that's.
No, so.
It's basically up to us. It would be, as soon as we vote on it, it starts
Like today?
today.
It'll start tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay, so maybe we should do two motions so we don't confuse ourselves.
I don't know, I'm not confused. Are
All
you
right.
confused?
You,
Are you gonna make a
no, I
motion that's
was the one who came
confusing?
up with the idea.
Why don't you do it in Adobe?
Before you go to that, public comment?
Can I ask a question, please, sir?
It's a comment? A comment?
Lynn's contract calls if you terminate her, like you said, with 3 votes. Depending on the circumstances, she gets severance.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So my brother worked for 11 years at the city of West Palm Beach without a contract. You want me, take me. If you don't like me, fire me. So you could terminate that contract and give her a good pay raise, and you'd be saving money if in fact you terminate her later.
Thanks, Terry.
It's a thought.
Stella?
Okay, Stella Cole. I want to congratulate you guys for something. I think Lynn is doing a good job. I appreciate what she's trying to do for us. You guys know her a lot better than we do, obviously. But I appreciate that you're keeping it private and not exposing any kind of dirty laundry in front of the audience. So I commend you on that, and I definitely agree with the 5% and exactly what you had said. So thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mr. Mayor, if I can just clarify.
Only closed public comment.
Okay.
Public comment is closed. Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to clarify that if Lynn's contract is terminated without cause, she's entitled to 14 weeks of severance if she provides a general release. So what we do a lot for our employment contracts for managers is you get that general release, so you're assured that there's not going to be litigation. So you're paying that 14 weeks to essentially close the matter out. So that's why a lot of folks do it that way nowadays.
Okay. Well, hopefully that doesn't come to that one.
Yeah.
I would hope not.
All right, so who's going to make some motion? Dave?
Want me to do it?
Steve?
Yeah, you go for it. You're the
Okay,
town.
what, can we do it in 2 motions?
Sure.
First motion is that we hold Lynn's evaluation led by the mayor in a one-on-one session with optional one-on-one sessions with each of the commissioners to help expound on the evaluation forms that have already been done. So that's motion one.
I'll second that motion. Right.
So you want to do two motions?
That's what I
Okay.
said. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Second motion.
Second motion is that we will raise Lynn's salary for cost of living designated at 5%, effective immediately.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Mr. Mayor, if I may clarify,
Sure.
can we have it effective tomorrow? So
Yes.
we can have
Tomorrow.
it effective tomorrow. And also, just to clarify, we will need to amend Lynn's contract, but I'm recommending we hold off on that until we come back to the final evaluation, so that if there's another raise, we're only amending it one time.
And the results of the study, right? So doesn't that have to be included in this motion?
I think that was
I don't
in the
think so.
first.
Yeah, I
one.
think-
That was in the first.
Okay,
one.
right.
So effective next step.
Right.
So just
Thank
some
you.
clarifications.
So amend my motion to be tomorrow as opposed to today.
Did you amend your second?
I second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Christie.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Ayala. That suggestion. All right, next one on consideration of street name change.
What number are we?
We are number
20.
20. Is the applicant here for that?
Yes. Hi, good afternoon. Franklin Hoy, 2 Whitney Way. Oh, I'm sure you guys already read the letter. The main reason is basically, it's very confusing. Nobody really finds the address. I've reported it, through Google Maps, Palm Beach County. And we've been building for the last year and a half, and it's been very hard because it's taking people to another Whitney Avenue in Lantana. I don't know if it's because of the proximity, but that's why I would like to request a change.
Thank you. I just want to tell you that, that was one of our last, first street names that we did just recently in the last couple of years. I don't know if you've looked into that.
Yeah, well, I was aware because,
And it's named after a
I
person
wasn't
who
going at that time.
donated a huge parcel of land for our retention pond.
I understand, but this is a private road. I'm not sure why they didn't put her name on a public road.
Well, it's a public road.
Well, it is private.
It will be a public road. It's just waiting for dedication of the road and utilities.
So back to the.
But I don't understand what do you mean it will be a public road?
I mean,
it's within the land.
Christie?
I don't know, on the plat, for the property, if it had to be dedicated to the public. I mean, you're right that it's on private property, but I believe part of the requirements for that subdivision to make it was a dedication of that roadway. But I don't
For
know.
the 2 lots.
Right.
Only for the 2 lots, which I own.
Okay.
On the line, can we just talk about what it actually says? I can't even read the screen. What are the names?
I can tell you, let me tell you, the homeowner wants to change the name of the road to his last name. And that's in a nutshell.
What is the name of the road and what?
It's Whitley Lane from
Whitney Way.
Way.
Can I explain this? She was my neighbor. I
Yes.
knew her for 20, 30 years. Mrs. Dorothy Whitney owned the entire Beachway neighborhood. Not only the entire Beachway neighborhood between Adams and the condos to the south, Colonial Ridge, but she also owned the land west of A1A. So she's a very generous woman. She let her friends come in there and build homes. She dedicated a large amount, I think it was 6 to 7, maybe 8 acres to the Wildlife Federation. So the town would have a sense of conservation land. She also was the one that mapped out the public access at the end of Beachway so that that whole entire block of homes on the east and west side of A1A could have access to the beach. So then we needed a retention pond. So the Wildlife Federation gave us that entire spot upon Mrs. Whitney's instructions. So she is a longtime resident of this town that gave us huge benefits we spent, what was it, $8 million on a drainage project that we would not have been able to do without Mrs. Whitney's generosity. So that's what you're bumping into. You're new to
No,
town.
I understand. My name was a suggestion. You guys suggested other names when you guys were deciding, and actually her name wasn't on the proposals. There were four other names, I think Orchid, Paradise.
And Betty Bingham.
Betty Bingham.
Okay. But my main concern is the address is confusing.
So
It's
it-
taking people to another site. So how can we?
Have you
how can
done
we correct
Google?
it?
Can I ask you?
Wait, slow down, slow. Okay, wait a minute, one at a time.
Google.
Can I ask you a question? Well, not really a question, but when I read this, I thought, well, I'm gonna check. So whether I'm in Del Rey, I've been in Lantana, every time I put it in either my Google Maps or Waze, I get the Ocean Ridge address. So I'm just curious.
So can I add to that without interrupting Dave? I've done this down at the Beachway. We had a big problem at Beachway. You need to go onto the Google Maps. There's a whole section there. You can
Right.
fill it out, and
And you
believe it
can
or
add it.
not, Google actually will get back to you like within 5 days.
Yes, and they said they added it. If you Google on my phone, it
Yeah.
will take you there. But not on the majority. I mean, I'm telling you because I've been building for over a year, and Xfinity went to Lantana. FPL couldn't find the address, even though they added it in the system.
So I would go back to Google and explain this to them. They were incredibly receptive when we had to do it down at Beachwood.
Dave?
We've talked about it.
Okay.
It's,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, email Tesla. They do it.
Hey, whoa. You gotta come up, you gotta say your name, an address for the record.
Spencer Blank, 850 West Camino Real, Boca. Tesla does the data mapping now with their cars for Google. You can email Tesla and they'll put the address up and make sure it corresponds.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, back to the commission. Tony, make a motion?
I move to deny the request to change the street name from Whitney Way to Howitt Way.
I second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Consideration of mitigation of lien at 23 Coconut Lane. Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe a request was made to the town clerk to mitigate the lien that has accrued at 23 Coconut, pursuant to the community standards violation and order that was put on the property most recently. The lien has accrued to $85,106.62. The request is from a prospective buyer, Spencer Blank. And I believe Mr. Blank is here to speak to the request.
Spencer Blank, 850 West Camino Real, Boca Raton. So currently I've been in touch with Kelly. I'm under contract now. I'm the prospective buyer of the property. I do know that you guys had quite the extensive background with Mr. Peter James Cooksey and the neglect of the property. I can't speak on his behalf. I have bought a lot of properties, whether they're for keeping for my family, myself, or other situations or reasons. I can tell you that without a doubt, as I brought the property to compliance in a matter of 2 to 3 days from approval, I'm hoping to be closed by tomorrow or the next day. He's been a very complicated guy to deal with, but I can assure you that if we're able to come to terms on a little bit of mitigation on this, regardless of whether I close or not, I can honor the payment on it. I do know he has a current lawsuit against you guys. I can get him to drop it immediately. He was not able to make it to the meeting. I do know he's dealing with you, Christy, and I'm sure you're probably not too happy about dealing with him. But I can take care of the situation in full. I will be the one, again, I don't have an accepted offer, but it's almost signed in ink. And then at that point, I will be, rehabbing the entire house in order for me or my brother to potentially live in, or other family. We're not sure exactly what we want to do. So I was looking to hopefully mitigate that down, in accordance with the mitigation. If we were able to mitigate below that number, I would guarantee you that, Cooksey would drop his lawsuit. That would be immediately done. And he'll sign off on that immediately. I can have his firm draft up that letter. He is an attorney, tomorrow, or within a few days, sorry. And from there, we can move forward with the deal and really bring the house back to life.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions for Mr. Blank?
Yeah, I'm just curious, you don't have a signed contract.
Oh, I have a signed contract, I don't know, but it just isn't accepted yet, meaning we're
Well,
in negotiations.
That's
so
not
I
a
feel
signed
okay.
contract then,
So
if it's not accepted by both parties, right?
it was accepted, it's in negotiation.
And you're making assurances on Mr. Cooksey's behalf, and he's been nothing but difficult for the town to work with, and obviously, because he's accrued these fines. So,
Correct, so I can't speak on his behalf, I can tell you that I'm very good at what I do. I have been in this situation in many times in many different cities when I've taken over properties that are in way worse conditions that have had way more liens in them. I am buying it, I wouldn't be here, I have a lot more to do, I have a family, I would not be here, sitting here for 2 hours, I'm late for another meeting after.
Sorry.
If I wasn't, it's not, I didn't mean it in that kind of negative way, I'm just saying that clearly I'm here because there's a reason for it. So I can tell you with my heart, my best interest, that everything that I'm saying is true. I think the gentleman has a different perspective. I've been in development and construction, and I started my first company very young. I understand people, I understand cities, town halls, dealing with building departments, planning, zoning, DRB. I've done a lot of design, development, new construction, renovation. I can tell you that my words that are being recorded right now will be honored, and I can guarantee you that.
So why don't you just get the money off of Cooksey?
Yeah, doesn't your contract allow for, if you're,
Well, because
if you have to
in
pay
my-
this, doesn't he increase?
But that's what I'm saying, is this something that I can negotiate with you guys? Because I mean, I've brought in these fines from over 400 grand on certain properties all the way down to very low numbers because I paid it. So my whole thing is, look, I understand that he neglected the property, that's nothing to do with me, I came into the picture, I found a deal that I think that me and my brother either will share it or, one of our family, my mom's getting much older, so maybe I'll move her down here, I'm not sure the exact terms. But it's one of those things when you're in real estate and you buy and sell a lot of properties. I mean, I built a large amount of buildings in multiple states, a lot of houses, personally by myself, the owner of a company I built from college. If it's able to be mitigated, again, I would even sign a piece of paper stating I will personally accept the dollar value, will get it paid. Mr. James Peter Cooksey will drop the lawsuit that he has against you guys, and immediately. And then we can have you a check written, whether it's directly from me or my company, it's not an issue.
So this whole thing sounds strange to me. You bought a house and you know it had this lien on it.
Absolutely.
You're attempting to buy it.
Intending to buy it, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you've come to us, which I'm assuming was baked into whatever price you and Cooksey came to, this lien, and now you're coming to us to get that lien reduced as part of a contract that hasn't been executed.
So one has nothing to do with the other. Absolutely not.
You're just swinging for the fences, that's what you're doing.
That's it, exactly. One has, because just so you understand, whether this gets mitigated or not, I still make my own decisions based on financials.
Right.
All my decisions are based on
Okay,
financials.
I think we've heard enough, right?
Yeah.
All right.
A for effort, A for effort.
But thank
Yeah.
you so much
It's
for at least
nothing
trying.
to do with you, yeah.
Thank you. So,
Can we have the other public?
yeah, just so I understand, so is that something that I can't get a response to? I can't get an answer?
Well, you
Yeah,
can get an
we're
answer in a minute, we're gonna make a vote.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, guys.
Public comment? Yeah. All right, hearing none, back to the commission. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a motion?
I move to deny the request for the mitigation. I appreciate your thoughts of trying to make a better town for us, but this doesn't work for me.
Sure.
So that's my motion.
I'd second that.
There's motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right,
Thank you. So does that mean that that's the dollar value and it can't be negotiated?
that's it.
That's it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
Okay, moving on, town managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't reiterate what is in the report that is in the package. It's been quite a busy month, and the art show was a resounding success. We are working on a budget now, but I have passed out a few things that came in today that I would like the commission's input on. The first one is the compensation study targets. We should have in front of you a list of 15 potential communities, as well as obviously Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade counties as an option. Those communities are Highland Beach, Indian River Shores, Sewell Point, Hillsborough Beach, Longboat Key, Florida, Sanibel, Florida, Key Biscayne, Florida, Palm Beach, Florida, Gulfstream, Florida, Manalapan, Florida, Jupiter Inlet Colony, Florida, Jupiter Island, Florida, Bel Air, Florida, Ferdinanda Beach, Florida, and Lake Clark Shores, Florida. My first question for the commission is, are there any of these communities that you consider to be must-haves for the comp study?
Yeah, I'd say Indian River, Sewell's Point, Gulfstream,
Hang on, slow down,
Jupiter
slow down.
Yeah, hold
Island.
on.
Go slower.
So I asked Lynn
So I can write it down.
what would be the cost of living increase for Ocean Ridge, so we have a basis of comparison.
Cost of living
One-
index. and it's-
Index, that's what I meant.
Yeah, so you're per capita
111.
income.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at, yeah.
So I don't
that's what I'm
think we
looking at,
should be
too.
looking at towns with more than 2-3 times
Mhm.
ours. That's reasonable.
And population is important too.
Yep.
But I'm thinking Indian River, Sewell's Point, Gulfstream, Manalapan, Jupiter Island.
Gulfstream and out.
Gulfstream's 300.
What we're talking about,
You know,
excuse me,
low.
right now you're just proposing the must-haves, right?
Right,
Yeah.
those are just the must-haves.
Just the must-haves
Jupiter
from this,
Inlet.
from this list.
I would say Jupiter Inlet Colony.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That's what I meant.
Get the
Jupiter
bed
Inlet.
right.
Yeah, not Jupiter Island.
So I want to run by the ones that you guys like so far, one more time. Check them off.
Indian River, Sewell's Point, Gulfstream, Manalapan, and Jupiter Inlet Colony.
What about Highland Beach? No?
Island's pretty big, they have all those
It's
condos.
condos.
It's just all condos.
We could throw in one oddball.
Yeah, throw in
Like
These
like.
these
Long-
are the must-haves.
Longboat Key
Yeah,
or
They're
something.
Lake
Guys,
Clark Shore.
I'm gonna recommend that we get them all, that they're just talking about the must-haves, the ones that they're.
Just the
talking
must-haves.
about, Make sure you get these.
Right.
My own view is we should get as many data points as we can. I can go into why I think that, but it doesn't hurt us to have additional data points for bigger cities and for different economic cities. Because if you think about who's trying to poach our people, a lot of times the town manager will leave, not to go to a smaller town, but rather to a bigger town. So it's good for us to understand what those pay levels look like as well. So, I'd be happy for them to use all of them on this list. She's just trying to figure out which ones we really gotta have.
Right. Well, it depends on the town manager get beat up from a small town or a big town, they go to a small town.
They might rather
And
go.
and the other thing, I can't remember a town manager that has left Ocean Ridge that the commission perhaps didn't want to leave Ocean Ridge, literally.
That's fine.
Okay, so is that the must-haves? You guys want to add any more
It
on
sounds
this
like
list?
those are the must-haves. Is there anyone on this list that anyone says, no, absolutely not, there's no reason to include them in the study?
No, because it's a good amalgam of different
Yeah.
sized towns.
Okay?
You know what's the
So-
most stunning thing to me on this list?
What's that?
Manalapan, Florida, per capita income 229.
Yes.
I thought it would be like, 5 million.
Well, look at Palm Beach.
I think they've got some bad numbers in there.
Look at Palm
Yeah.
Beach, look
Some
at
of the
Palm
high
Beach.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's,
Oh, look at Palm Beach.
All right.
Right.
So,
Really?
based
Yeah.
on that feedback, I will pass the list on
they
to the
take this into
consultants.
account.
All right, thank you. What else you got?
The next one, I sent this out to you all to give you a little heads up. It's come to my attention that quite often during Hurricane Preparedness Week, which we are in right now, many communities in Palm Beach County offer what is called Hurricane Amnesty or Amnesty for Vegetation Pickup. Purpose is to encourage the residents to complete their pre-hurricane season trimmings. The residents would then take advantage of the opportunity to dispose of that vegetation waste, which is in excess of what our standard weekly limits are. And they can dispose of it with no additional service charge. I spoke with Waste Pro today, and they are willing to provide this service for our residents. They can do it next week, during the week of May 13th. If this is something the commission would
What
like to
cost?
see. There is no cost this year.
No cost?
But we are also in the process of updating our Waste Pro contract. It will be coming to you, so we will be negotiating a future cost to make sure that we can offer this annually.
So but we're only offering it, it's next week, right?
We could push it out.
You may want to push it a little because you got to really notify everybody.
So we could push it out to the week of May 20th. And that would give people 2 weeks to do their trimmings and prepare to have it out at the
So,
curbside.
I know hurricane, the state says hurricane period starts June 1, but that, I mean, that's just the government. So I would even push it further than that.
This is normally the time people are doing their coconut trimmings and their major brush trimmings. FP&L comes through, the utility companies come through. We do all of our trimmings this time of year. We can push it out till June, but
So everyone's aware of this. And the other safeguard is you don't want your lawn guy, cutting down all the bushes he's been waiting to cut down and dumping them on the side of the curb, so you don't have to pay for him to remove them. That's not part of the deal.
no.
Wait, now you just said it, everybody's gonna wanna do that.
The professionals cannot
I
take
know.
advantage of this.
That's what they do.
I mean,
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm bringing it up.
you come on next week, you dump everything you want. Great, Steve.
But do we want to do this in May, perhaps the week of the 20th before Memorial Day, or do we want to push it out till June?
I'm in June.
What's the first June
Another
pickup?
hurricane by then.
First June pickup
Why aren't you
will be
happy?
June 4th.
I'm happy with that.
What can happen?
All right, June 4th it is.
All right. The last item I have in front of you, it's a two-part. The town has been approached by the owner of 2 parcels to the northwest of Town Hall that are under the ownership of Spanish Creek LLC. Both are mangrove properties, and the owner would like the town to purchase these. Currently, the parcel identified as 46434522460001-0000 has a portion known as Tract A that is under a current recorded conservation easement that prevents building or construction. The easement was in place when that parcel was replatted by the current property owners and approved by the commission in February 2010, although the easement is older than that. I believe they have asked for a price equal in square foot to what the town purchased the Priest property for. I don't have the exact calculations, but Commissioner Cassidy, refresh my memory, it was somewhere in the
280.
Yeah, 280.
I was gonna say 250 to 280 range. On top of that, the parcel immediately north of Town Hall, addressed at 6470, is currently available for purchase. I've had conversations with the owner that recently acquired it at auction. This property has several very positive aspects for the town. Eventually, the town will need a parcel to place sewer infrastructure when the town does eventually do septic to sewer construction. That parcel is roughly in the center of town from a north-south perspective, and being a vacant property allows us not to infringe on anyone's individual homeowners association, condo properties, or individual property owners for necessary infrastructure when that comes along. The parcel can also be used to provide additional development of park and recreation facilities. Right now, the only Ocean Ridge actual park that exists is Linear Park, which is sort of a natural path to the intercoastal. Ideas to develop this area could include things such as a pickleball court or similar tennis courts, although pickleball is far more popular. Outdoor exercise stations, similar to what you will find along walking and bike paths, so that as we can encourage our residents to stay healthy, gives them those opportunities. Adding a kayak or canoe launch at the back that would also allow people to access the natural mangrove area back there and the intercoastal waterway. It would provide space for possible future expansion of public safety facilities, public safety being police, fire, and EMS. With all the growth in Boynton, and they're providing us fire service, there may come a time when it's necessary to locate fire and rescue services on the island, on the barrier islands, to ensure we have adequate service. It could also provide the future for development for additional town hall property to include the expansion of current community areas, such as expanding the library, our community room, and for additional parking. So that is one option. Right now, the property owner and I have discussed price of approximately $2 million. As you're all aware, we applied for a grant of funds for the Priest property to return. Right now, barring a significant change at their meeting next week, we will be getting just over $1 million of the 1.5 that we spent on the Priest property back. 6470, if we do turn it into a park type area with the kayak launch, educational pieces, information posted at the back, could also be eligible for either that or other recreational grants from the state to help offset the cost.
It's also worth noting that the 2 mangrove parcels that the property owner approached you about, we have a grant request in, and that's through FERDAP, Florida Recreation Public.
Right.
Yeah. And that money has been approved by the legislature, but the organization has to decide how it's going to be.
The money for the,
That parcel,
governor
those
has to
parcels up
sign
to
off.
240,000 or something for those 2 parcels.
280 for those two.
so we've applied for a grant for that. Did
We have a
anyone even
grant,
know
yeah.
we were doing that?
We talked about it last
we've
fall. We
mentioned it,
talked about applying for
So
the.
here-
We were
my-
doing all this last summer.
My point is, and then maybe I don't understand a conservation easement. We're using up grant money to buy something that has a conservation easement on it that doesn't allow it to be built.
Well, it's zoned
Versus
residential.
Putting the money towards the land north of us, which we are going to need, and we can't get hurt on, because let's say we buy it for $2 million. 3 years from now, we find out, for whatever reason, that we no longer need this land, it's going to be worth at least $2 million. So I don't understand why we're putting so much effort into the unusable land that has already been deemed conservation in some form versus putting our efforts and grant monies into this land here. And I also think human nature, if we keep going to the state to buy land, and at some point, human nature would be, we already took care of that town a few times. Let's go on to another town.
And I agree with that. The grant that we applied for the 2 mangrove properties, when we applied for that, that was something that obviously of interest to the town, it being able to potentially work with the county and create a very large county park, natural area, with an intergovernmental for the town, for us both to operate it as a recreation area. And at that time, when we applied for the grant, 6470 was not eligible for purchase.
Lynn, when we talked on our one-on-one, I got the impression that you were for the north property, the $2 million property, but that you felt like we don't really need to do the other 2 parcels because of the.
I believe that without the grant from the state, the other 2 parcels are already well protected by the conservation easement, whereas the parcel to the north of us, I think has more long-term uses for the community overall that actually can be used potentially on a day-to-day basis than property that is, for the most part, submerged and fully engrossed with the mangroves.
So my question is, let's get back to the north property here. So you're saying you're negotiating a $2 million deal?
Yes.
And then you're going to, if we get the $1 million back, so perfect world, we'd only be spending $1 million on that piece of property?
Essentially, yes, except for.
And where would the money come from?
where would the money come from? It would have to come from cash reserves.
And it would be eligible for grant monies.
We could get another, we could go for
Yeah.
another grant. Lynn, is it, in your view, as Steve was saying, if we were to do the 280, like, I don't know how much the grant is that we asked for, do you believe that that would harm our request to get money for the north property right here? Does it
Yes.
put us in a weaker position?
Yeah, it does put us in a weaker position if we get that grant, because we will have received 2 grants for land purchases within the same 12-month to 18-month period.
No.
And the other thing, if I'm Boynton Beach, and I don't know fiscally how sound Boynton Beach is, I mean, Boynton Beach has a large parking problem. So if I were Boynton Beach, I would be aware that that land's for sale. So I think we need to protect ourselves from that as well.
Yeah.
So I guess we should, I guess the direction of the commission would be to keep going with what you've been doing. And negotiate. Yeah.
Christie can give us more direction on
Yeah, I've got
exactly
public
how
comment,
to proceed on any kind of land purchase. And then I would, yes, I think the public comment on this is important.
But once a grant is earmarked towards a specific parcel, you can't raise your hand and say, by the way.
Right, but
Yeah.
the
It's
FERDAP
different
grant that we
DEP
have
agencies.
applied for the mangrove properties, at this point, we have no idea if it's going to be awarded. The money is in the state budget for FERDAP to provide grants, but they have not actually reviewed the applications and scored them and provided a list of all of the applicants statewide to put in for that FERDAP grant. So
we could withdraw that and substitute this one, even if it's more expensive, but that way we don't
Not
have
for this
one.
calendar year. We applied for it for the 24.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
we could
so
withdraw,
no.
but we could withdraw the FERDAP grant and reapply for a different grant for 6470.
So that we
Any
can-
municipality can apply for up to 2 FERDAP grants in one budget cycle.
Okay, let's hear from the public. Christine, you've been yelling back there.
Sorry, Terry.
It's okay, I'll let you go first.
Thank you. Christina Hassett, 29 Sable Island. I've tried to be very quiet for a very long time, so. Can you hear me now? Yeah. All right, thank you, Betty. Notwithstanding, we tried as a municipality very quietly to purchase this property next to us. We know that as we're expanding municipality, as we would like to continue to be more sovereign, maybe bring back an EMT station, maybe not a fire station, but an EMT station to expand our municipality. We tried to negotiate for that property next door. At that time, it was $1 million, and we were told by the owner, no. Period, over, out, no. So to come back and now try to, through another negotiating party, purchase it for $2 million, the only time that I would advocate, and I still think we need it, I truly think we need it, you know, we've talked about putting second story over the barn, I mean, it's just not gonna happen. $2 million, okay, but don't make it preservation and conservation, that really ties your hands.
Yeah.
I think we can put a nice easement, maybe on the side of either side, to get to the boardwalk, which I advocate. I mean, Commissioner Cassidy has been very strong in this, and I totally support it. But don't put those restrictions on it. That would be the only thing that I would say.
And to that point, the reason why you don't want to put restrictions is, let's say 3 years from now, Lynn comes to us and says, you know, we bought that land because we thought maybe it would be for utility use, but now that's not going to work. We can easily sell it and recoup all our money. Yeah.
And I think your wife was on the initial selling end of it, so yes.
Thank you. Terry?
Well, I sort of want to repeat what Christine said. I actually came to the commission and suggested that they buy it for $1 million when it was for sale for $1 million. And they did try. They weren't successful. I don't know how hard they tried. She says that they did try. But to pay 2 million for it, I think you could squeeze and get it for less.
Can't.
It was already an auction, right?
Yeah.
And it was purchased at auction at just over 1.8, close to 1.9.
Okay, so it already been purchased at auction. Okay, so 2 million
Right.
is probably what you're looking at. But I want you to know, you were on the commission at the time.
$1 million? I don't remember.
$1 million, and people looked at me like I was crazy.
I probably did, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Well, I could say something right now.
The
You know, that's an opening. I could drive a truck.
But the other-
So I think what Lynn's asking now, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, well, no, I support it. I think
You
that
do,
the
good.
more land that you can purchase for the town, the better. And you could use that for a construction staging area. It would be public property.
So I think Lynn's asking for permission to negotiate up to $2 million. Is
Yeah.
that what you're asking for, Lynn?
Yes, sir.
Is that a general consensus?
Yes.
And I have to put my 2 cents in.
Yeah.
I'd love to have extra parking here. And I would love a pickleball court. Don't play, but I would like to try maybe. And I think we should use it for the town. Absolutely. I mean, it's inflation, $2 million, you know, we wait another couple of years, it might be 5. Okay?
Thank you.
If somebody else buys it. forget it.
The elephant in the room approaches. Jeff Heater, 6480 North Ocean Boulevard. I am very disappointed with what I'm hearing from you right now.
Can't hear you.
Can everybody hear me? I am very disappointed in what I'm hearing from you right now. Years ago, we approached the town with the property that you were talking about paying $2 million for. And I was told at that time, when we owned it, that you would be willing to take it as a donation. There was no discussion about any purchase price for it at all. So we just moved forward with it. The new owner purchased it from, long story, let's get away from that. We have approached the town about purchasing the mangroves. The property to the immediate north of town here, this mangroves is not completely conservation easement. It's partially conservation easement. So there would theoretically not be any reason why the new owner could sell that property or buy that property from us and then increase the value of their property in the front and sell it to somebody else for residential housing. The property to the north of that property has no conservation easement on it whatsoever. That's the half-acre property to the north of it. We have worked extremely hard over the last 10 years, since 2013 actually, fighting our battle as well as the town's battle. Our attorneys have been copied verbatim by the town's attorneys. Without our attorneys' efforts, the town would have lost the easement lawsuit in the backyard. Okay. The guy that was the town attorney was very nice. He was a complete incapable person. He literally copied verbatim what my attorney wrote. Now, we're asking to ask the town to please preserve that property for us, from us, and purchase it from us for what we feel is a very fair price based on the recent sale that's happened to the Priest property. And to hear the idea of this suddenly, all of a sudden, the money is going to go to this other developer who just waltzes in and asks $2 million for a piece of property, I find kind of reprehensible. I'm really disappointed, and I hope you really reconsider your opinion on this. Please contact me if you have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, Lynn, you have the general consensus of the commission?
Is that all I need, Christie?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just so everybody's aware, there's a applicable Florida statute on the purchase of real property. So if Lynn's successful in her negotiations, what we'll bring back is an option contract. It's subject to the approval of the town commission. We do have to post a notice. So as soon as we can get
that option contract completed. Ideally, we'll post the notice and then bring it back to the commission as soon as we can. It's a process we also went through on purchasing the Priest property. So just a couple little procedural hurdles to deal with, nothing major, but just so you know, that's what would come back to you.
Okay. All right, Lynn, is that all you have?
That is all I have.
All right.
One more thing, Commissioner Cos brought up the invasive species. In the past, the town has approved a capital improvement plan as part of our budget every year. As I was reviewing our capital plan, which is a 1 through 5 year, and then a 6 through 10 year, there have been several things on that, such as annual maintenance of the retention area, savings for specific capital expenditures that are ongoing, wet well maintenance, all the pump station maintenance, things like that. And as I was reviewing them, the money that should have been allocated for each of those annually and attributed towards the expenditures, the commission approved those expenditures, and at the end of the year, if we had not spent them, rather than encumbering them and then restricting them towards those capital improvements, that money went straight to what the commission has always considered to be fund balance, which is the operating fund balance, which is different than the funds that are set aside for capital improvements. That is why we are here this year with another $15,000 request to make improvements to the retention area. But as you go into the FY25 budget, you will start seeing that our capital expenditures are not only planned for, but items like this, which are annual maintenance items, will be separated out, but still part of the capital. And you'll see how much of our mill levy goes towards capital improvements, capital projects, whether that be stormwater, water distribution, streets,
Infrastructural.
infrastructural improvements, as opposed to how much of that goes to operational expenses. That is, a breakdown of that mill levy has never been shown to the commission and to the public, and I think it's very important that as we go forward, everyone understands how much of your general tax mill levy goes to support those capital improvements every year, and how much is going for general operating.
So if I can add, this came about because we have to spend $15,000 to $20,000. You should remember this, cleaning the retention pond again. We did this 5 years ago for $18,000. And at the time we did it, we also allocated $2,500 a year to a company to come in and do it annually, maybe $2,000 a year, come in and do it annually. So the question is, well, why wasn't it done? It was never put in the budget. So
You're supposed to put plans in there too.
right, the whole thing, Terry, it's supposed, but maintain. We had a contract, and the contract was never acted upon because no one knew to act upon it. So what I compared it to in the media industry, soap operas, movies, there's a guy who has a Bible, right? So you don't have a character do something that's impossible he can't do. So Lynn is now creating that on a spreadsheet, such that the fire hydrants, the retention ponds, the tropical pumps, all this stuff that needs to be done on an annual basis is done on an annual basis, and it will be in the budget. So what happens is not in the budget, it doesn't get done. So that hopefully will create a mega chart, if you will. So if Lynn leaves us, the chart can be handed to somebody. When Lynn walked in here, she was not handed anything that said what was
She was
being
handed
doing.
something, right?
Yeah, right. So that, it's a
Well, the thing
structure
is
for
that the
town.
place looks awful. And if you walk through there, it literally is loaded with Brazilian pepper. So it's gotta be cleaned out, all the buttonwood's gotta be cleaned up, and it's gotta look like the town of Ocean Ridge is supposed to look like.
And it filtrates the water better.
That's correct.
And they were supposed to put some aquatic plants in there.
They're
You
still
remember
there,
that.
believe it or not.
You
They're
remember
not bad. All right, any other discussion on that?
Can I circle back to the mangroves just for a moment? I'm a little unsettled the way this was headed. We've applied for 3 separate grants through different agencies, all affiliated with DEP. They act independently. DEP looks very favorably on anything that we're doing that's environmental, that has to do with water, that has to do with preservation. So these are two mutually exclusive purchases, and one has nothing to do with the other. We already have this grant application that is at the end of this fiscal cycle. Hopefully it gets approved. If it does, it seems to me that we should move forward with that, because compared to what we're looking at next door, it's a minimal cost. And it's ensuring that we maintain ownership of that. And we're all familiar with the threats of taking over our mangrove properties. It's been ongoing. So that's my 2 cents.
I think we're pretty much in agreement with that.
Okay.
So that's different than what I thought I heard, which is if we do that, it harms our ability to get funding for the $2 million. Because that influences my feeling.
It doesn't harm it in that we have not applied for funding for the property next door. We would be applying for additional recreation. There are other grants other than FCT and FERDAP, which are the ones that we've applied for thus far, that we could apply for to offset the purchase next door if we get the FERDAP grant for the mangrove property this year.
So we're going to talk on Thursday about all the grant possibilities for this year that we would work on over the summer.
The mangrove properties that we're talking about, the grant application, do we have a pretty good idea that that's going to be favorably disposed, that we're going to get it? And will be most of the purchase price?
Our grant writer is confident. It often comes down with these types of state grants with exactly how much was allocated and how many projects were submitted and how they can fund the most projects with what they have.
Because that changes my view. If it doesn't hurt our ability to get the $2 million property and pursue grants around that, then why wouldn't we do that?
If it is 100% grant. What is it?
Which one? The mangrove?
Mangroves.
Well, we think it's 50-50. So that, but I said that, yeah, but we thought that it was 50-50 on the Priest property, and it's actually 70-30. We're getting 70.
But either way, I mean, 50-50, I mean, you're still protecting, it's a pretty good deal.
It's more to me, it's if it doesn't hurt our ability to get the $2 million, because that seems to have far more utility for our residents.
Correct.
So,
but the other one's great if we can get it done and it doesn't.
So you're looking
hurt us.
at different grants. I mean, it's entirely separate from different groups of people.
I understand the different grants. I just don't know if there's some
it's the same
council somewhere that
legislative
looks at
body.
it and says, geez, Ocean Ridge has come to the well too many times. I mean, I don't have any expertise on that, so I don't know the answer. I think I'm hearing you say it doesn't affect us.
I don't think ultimately it will right now. Like I said, if we're not going to dedicate 6470 to preservation and conservation, that puts us in applying for a different set of grants to help offset that cost, which would then, no, it wouldn't affect the FERDAP.
And I think we said specifically, we don't want to have it, we want it to.
Right, right. So that allows us to apply for completely different grant subsets from both the state and the federal government.
I don't know how you guys feel, but that changes my feeling about the mangrove website. I'd support that.
Okay.
We don't have to make a decision until the grant comes in.
Right.
So
Right,
there's no need to make a decision.
Christie? Thank you, Lynn.
Mr. Mayor, I do not have a report tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I had been told, I thought, that if commissioners are not present during the town hall meeting, that we can't vote. But I think I just heard in a sidebar conversation that I had with Christie, that as long as there's a quorum of 3 commissioners or more, that they can make it so that commissioners that are away but dialing in could vote remotely. Do I have that right?
Mr. Mayor, if I may answer the question. So there's an Attorney General opinion that for purposes of passing resolutions and ordinance, that they believe the statute reads that a quorum needs to be physically present. They have expanded that view to mean that for all voting matters for your governing board, that a quorum should be physically present. You can set up by your policies, in this case, rules of procedure, that if there's a circumstance where someone has to be out of town, that they could call in or appear virtually and vote as long as there's a quorum physically present.
And it doesn't matter how the quorum votes. Correct?
It just has to be a
What-
quorum, yeah.
So as long as there's a quorum here, the quorum could decide that the two or whatever people are that out, they can, if they're available, they can go ahead and participate and vote.
What I'm trying to ask is, there's three people sitting here. Two are negative, one's positive, the two from the outside go positive. That vote counts.
Correct. What I would recommend is, the requirement is to have three physically present, so your basic quorum has to be physically present. What the Attorney General recommends, and I also recommend, is that you would address a procedure in your rules of procedure as to how this would happen, so that we wouldn't run to a scenario that if the quorum is physically present, but two people are actively voting virtual, then you decide on the fly how those votes count. You set forth a procedure of how it's going to be handled if someone's voting remotely, the quorum's physically present. It's just as if they're here.
All right, so why don't we have you see if you can draft up something we can look at the next meeting?
Well, okay, but the next meeting, we'd like to use it. Yeah.
Good point.
We'd have to vote on it tonight.
Can we have a special
We
meeting?
should have a
Well, can we
special
just
meeting.
vote on it then? Why can't we just vote on it?
Because really, what are we voting on? We'd have to formulate the whole
It wasn't,
procedure right
it
now.
needs to be.
We could have a special meeting.
Why can't we ask her to draft into, a resolution, the ability for us to have, non-present,
Vote tonight.
vote remotely.
Because it wasn't on
Just
the.
vote.
Christie?
You would have to have a resolution prepared to address that. All resolutions and ordinance need to be prepared in order to address whatever you're passing.
So how soon can you do that? Because what if we wanted a special meeting before the end of the month? Can you do that before the end of the month?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would put it in your normal rules of procedure, which are adopted by resolution, and just do an amendment to that.
Okay,
Great,
great.
thanks. Really helpful.
Chief?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. My report is in your packet. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. We did put out a civic rate today. The FDOT will be working on the inlet bridge from 9/4 Tuesday and Wednesday, single lane closure.
Okay. What else you got? That's it.
What happened with the power lines at Wellington Arms?
Just down power line. That's, I was in a meeting, I wasn't even in town when I heard about it. It was just down power line that they had to wait, they couldn't even, if they put water on, so that, shut power off of that grid.
All right. Any questions for the chief? All right, well, thank you,
There's always
chief.
gonna be dogs on the beach, we're still enforcing it.
Thank you, chief. All right, since there's nothing else, I'll say this meeting's adjourned. Thank you for coming. And thanks for jinxing me on this.